Judaism is an ethno-religion, so it's an ethnicity, it's a religion, it's a race, and it's a culture. It's all those things. So even if you're born Jewish, you can do a DNA test and it will show that your roots are Jewish, even if you don't keep any of the laws. But then there's the other aspect to Judaism, which is all the laws of the Bible that have been kept for thousands of years. A lot of them are passed on through generations, and some of them we're keeping the same laws as people kept thousands of years ago. So people that abide by the laws are considered orthodox, and people that and then there's people that don't keep the laws per se, but do a lot of the traditions, more in the spirit of like cultural Jews. So they're more secular Jews. It's a spectrum. Jews are dispersed because they've had to be dispersed because, as you know, with the history, they've been in exile from a lot of the countries that they lived in for a long time. Jews in Australia, most of them came post World War II. There were Jews here for a couple hundred years already. I would say 75% of the Jews came after the war. Like my grandparents came after the war.
I was born in Australia, but the history of my father's family coming here springs from the Holocaust. So the Holocaust is it's what happened during the Second World War, where the Nazis persecuted the Jews and other groups, including gypsies and homosexuals. And they set up concentration camps where they took people and they killed them in various ways, but often through putting them into gas chambers where they would suffocate. So 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, including a lot of my father's family. My father and his parents were in hiding for 3 years, so they lived as Christians in Budapest, where they escaped to from their home in Bratislava. And they managed to survive, even though my father's parents were captured by the Nazis and arrested for some period of time. They managed to escape, which was very unusual, and the family was reunited. So it's a really incredible story. A lot of my grandparents' brothers and sisters died in the Holocaust, and it was obviously an incredibly traumatic time that has far-reaching effects through the generations. After the war finished in 1945, my father's family went back to Bratislava and started to rebuild their lives. But in 1949, the communists came and took over their country, and at that point they decided to emigrate and they came to Australia. There's no interaction with people who are really orthodox. They're not trying to talk to me. So if I walk past them on the street, they won't talk to me. But I love the traditions. I love being able to connect to, stories from the Bible through eating particular foods, lighting candles, whatever it is.
Jews in Australia are Australians, whereas Jews in Israel, a lot of them are Middle Eastern. Most of Orthodoxy is quite modern. There's very small sects that are ultra-Orthodox that still are arranged marriages. But most of Orthodoxy is much more modern. And they are encouraged to meet each other. Either they're set up or they meet at events or whatever. But what's a very strong idea in the culture is to get married. That's always like hovering over everybody, that you should get married and you should have children. That's like a goal still.
My mum converted after she married my dad, and it was really hard for her to do it. So she had to ask a rabbi, which is like the Jewish priest, she had to ask a rabbi 3 times. And that's the tradition, is that they say no, and then, if you keep asking, finally they'll say yes. So a lot of observant Jews keep kosher. I don't keep kosher. But some of the main rules around eating kosher, and it all comes from rules that, dietary rules that are in like a Jewish book called the Talmud. So there are lots of different rules, and a lot of them are to do with food. So for example, some of the rules are that meat has to be killed in a kosher way, so the blood has to be drained and it has to be blessed by a rabbi.
Every single meal, especially at the Sabbath and all the festivals, we start all the meals by breaking bread. So we have to have 2 loaves of bread at every single meal. So that's one of the reasons why Friday is a really big day for me, because everyone needs to have bread for the Sabbath. Bread is like they say the staff of life. It's a big theme.
What does it mean to modern Jew? It means to bring your Judaism into your day-to-day life and your beliefs system, to act just, to act moral, to take care of the less fortunate in every sense of the word. And when you're doing business, to act like a mensch, as we say, whether you're encountering your community or someone from outside the community, to be open, to be loving, inclusive, and just an upright and just person. Jews pray 3 times a day, once in the evening, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and we wear prayer shawls. At some of those prayers, we also put on phylacteries. The Torah scrolls, that is, handwritten on parchment and ink, the Old Testament, the Bible, the 5 books of Moses. And they are right here. They're the most holy object that we have, the Jewish people have. The 10 Commandments are what Moses gave, what God gave to the Jewish people. The first 5 are all about God's relationship with man, to believe in Him, to worship other gods, to keep the Shabbat, to honor our parents. And the next 5 are about how to live in a moral and just society, not to kill, not to steal, and the like.
People have hated Jews forever. So there's always like a feeling of just gotta watch a little bit. Just gotta watch a little bit always. Like as a Jew, you have to always just watch a little bit. You gotta be a bit aware of who knows. I don't know. And like when you're in the middle of nowhere and then you meet another Jew, most of the time it's like brothers, straight away, sisters. You just immediately have a connection. It's like someone from your home country or your home, yeah.
I guess racism is never logical, like trying to find scapegoats for things that aren't going well in their lives or in their communities. And it sometimes, sometimes they go to black people, sometimes they go to Asians, sometimes they go to Jews. So it's like people will always find another group that they want to discriminate against. But yeah, it's never okay.
I want everybody to take on a resolution. I'm going to start again. My message to all those who are watching is how you can combat racism, anti-Semitism in your area. Are you going to shut that person down when they start making comments about other faiths and other cultures? Or are you just going to let it slide? Are you going to be an upstander or a bystander? Because it's on all of us to make a strong resolution to make Australia a more open and inclusive place to live.